What's going on, guys? It's Peety here. We're going to be talking about the tech trees, Airman, Cannoneer, Tanker. Which one you should choose when you first start, which one is the most beneficial, and why. We're going to be going into that right now, starting off with Airman. So, with Airman class, you have all air units get plus 10% to all attack, you get plus 20% speed, and then you get your standard attack versus rebels. This attack versus rebels is standard across Airman, Tanker, and Cannoneer, but you got to keep in mind when you're going to be attacking rebels. With bombers, it's very easy to fly over 3-4 cities, take out some farming troops, get your battle score up, so on and so forth. So Airmen, I think they have a benefit with that. Anyways, going in, fighters. Right off the bat, you get plus 15 attack versus air. You get an armament cost, which this armament cost minus 20%. This affects LC jets as well. So if you try to buy a jet from the League City, it'll take minus 20% of what it would originally cost, and it'll save your league some oil. So moving in, you also have a speed boost. These things are fast as shit. So moving on, bombers. You get max fuel. As we know, bombers have like low fuel, 3 hours. This boosts them up a little bit, makes them a little more manageable. You attack versus armor plus 40%, attack versus buildings plus 30%, and max ammo. Max ammo is the biggest thing. Bombers, right off the bat, they get 10 minutes worth of bombs. That's very slim. You might have to use a resupply when trying to take a capital city. But with the plus 50%, you get 15 minutes of bombs, and you can take out anything you want. And then just keep resupplying it. You'll save tactics on resupplies, so on and so forth. Plus, with the additional damage bonus, as you can see, plus 10%. Air, armor, buildings, it'll help you move through the map more smoothly. Going on to transports, if you're running an airman class, you shouldn't be using these unless you're running flak instead of jets for some reason. But you do get a speed bonus and a load capacity bonus, and it's cheaper. So you can also make gigs for your league and help out the league by saving oil. Your scouts, if you are an alt account, you get a minus 50% training and armament cost, plus 10% health, and a plus 50% versus air. That's huge. If you're an alt account, you have to run airmen. If you're going to run a scout army, 20, 30 scouts, I hate you guys, but run airmen. And air superiority wins the game. So flax, getting into late game, you get a plus 10% speed. Not really, no one really cares. 20% health, that'll help you against bombers. 20% attack range, nothing crazy, but you do get to heal. So moving on, anti-tank gun. This is one of the things that the airman class centers on, is the anti-tank gun. This will help you turtle. So starting in the beginning of the battlefield, you have no upgrades for tanks, no upgrades for level 8 artillery. You're going to have to rely on these anti-tank guns. The name of the game here is kind of sit back and try to kill off light tanks as they push you, and try to survive until you can get to level 10, and then get some oil, and then start getting some bombers out on the field. That's kind of the name of the game. This anti-tank gun class helps you out. You can make them for cheaper, you got more health, you got more attack versus armor, plus 60% attack versus armor. And off the bat, they already get 1350. So you're talking about some crazy damage going down on these light tanks. You get an additional attack range, and you get healed. End discussion. Tank destroyers, honestly, I've never seen these things late game. I'm not even going to talk about them. Those are the stats. Check them out if you want. Buildings are across Cannoneer, Tanker, and Airman. They're exactly the same. So take a mental picture of them now, because you'll see them 2 more times. Turrets, these turrets, they're plus 15% attack versus armor. It'll help out with those early pushes, help you turtle more. Oil extraction, minus 50% tactic cost, no penalty till steel production. This sounds good in theory, but this oil extraction costs 50 tactic points, and it only lasts for 30 minutes. So it is not worth it. Air recon, you're going to use air recon all the time. Minus 50% tactic points, that's a huge buff. Siege and destroy, you will use this all the time as well. Plus, it gives you a plus 10% attack versus buildings. Very key in my opinion. Tier 4 upgrades, these are going to be essentially the same. They're going to be exactly the same across Airman, Tanker, Cannoneer. So I'm not going to talk about them at all after this point, but those are the buffs you get. Ally skills, these are going to be the same, minus it's going to be different troops to activate these skills. In this case, I am Become Death. Within a 100-point radius of your tank destroyer, all of your allies will get plus 10% to all attack and plus 15% for versus armor. Only for your allies, not for you. Pretty useless. If you run a tank destroyer late game, I'm pretty sure you'll get kicked from your league. Joint Force Commander, 200-point radius of your level 2 scout. This is actually something useful. Level 2 scouts, very easy to make, especially with the 50% armament discount. Plus 15% attack for all allies. You can be a pretty good asset using this ally skill. Moving on, Tanker. With Tanker, all of your tanks, right off the bat, you're talking tank units plus 10% attack. You get plus 30% speed. You get plus 30% attack for buildings. It's a huge. Your tanks are going to be ripping. If you don't have this, you're missing out. Medium tanks, you get a plus 30% speed, and then you get some defense against rocket launchers. If you're facing rocket launchers with medium tanks, you're going to lose the fight. I will bet you $3,000 you're going to lose the fight. Tiger tanks, minus 20% armament costs. You get some fuel, some ammo. You get a 30% speed boost, and then more defense. Not the greatest. You're going to have to worry on... you're going to have to work on your officers in order to get these guys up, but the Tiger tanks can be decent. Against M40s, I'm not sure, but the Stugs, this is where the tanker class shines. You've got a minus 50% training and armament cost. What this means is when you first start and you get level 5 city, level 5 munition factory, you're going to have Stugs being able to pump out for 130 rubber. So, rubber is very essential at the beginning of the field. You're going to be able to push out these Stugs. You'll be able to have 5 to 10 Stugs going into your first battle. And with your light tank combos running tanker, you'll be able to push that first city that you're trying to take, kill them off very easily. You're talking, you have max range. You have plus 20% attack range. So pushing up to that city, range towers, they only have 180% or a 180 attack range. So do the Stugs, but with this 20% attack range, you'll be able to out-kite them. So you can shoot the sniper towers, and they won't be able to shoot back. And you can just push your way all the way up until that second city, and take that second city with ease. And you also get a heal on top of that. So the Stugs with tanker are overpowered. Keep that in mind. But they won't be late game. Light tanks are also overpowered. You get a minus 50% training and armament cost as well, meaning that the steel to produce these things is nothing. It's 200 steel, and you can just make one. So you get a health bonus, you get plus 50% of all attack, and plus 30% speed. These things are quick. The Moss tanks, you get armament cost, some fuel, some ammo, and some defense. Not too much. Moving on. Your buildings. So you get a plus 30% repair rate. This is the same as the last one. I won't go over it. With the tanker class, you also get some infantry bonuses, which are kind of helpful. Plus 50% speed. You get plus 20% health, which will help you capturing those debatable captures when you just paradrop some troop in there and try to capture it. Yeah, that's what this is for. You get plus 500 defense for rocket launchers. If you're facing rocket launchers, you're dead, so don't worry about it. Commandos, for you guys that love to run commandos, you get 25% speed, 25% attack against soldiers and vehicles, which is what they're made for. That's huge. And then you also get to heal. The turrets are plus 20% attack for soldier and vehicle, which is what they're made for. It's huge. Your tactics, you got steel mining, like I said, is useless. Airdrop supplies, I've used it a few times when I've messed up. And Blitzkrieg, which is the #1 tactic in the game. That plus 35% speed and plus 15% HP on top of what it already offers is huge. You can spam Blitzkrieg on your troops and just continuously heal them and win any fight. So keep that in mind. Moving on, Cannoneer. All units, you get the 35% attack versus rebels, which is standard across the board, plus 15% speed, 7.5% attack. All cannons in flak, you get a 10% to all attack, which is huge for M40s. Huge. If you're fighting an M40 battle when you're both at 10k, this will win the fight. Plus 30% speed, you get some healing, and then you get attack versus air and buildings. That is huge for the flak. Plus 10% attack versus air is huge. Rocket launchers, artillery, self-propelled artillery, you get some defense, fuel, you get plus 30% speed, and attack versus buildings. This allows your M40s to act as stugs almost. You can almost run a full M40 army without stugs and just completely destroy cities. Your rocket launcher, if you're, I've never seen anyone rocket launchers unless you're trying to troll, so. But you don't get many benefits. I'm sure that's why. Artillery and self-propelled artillery, you get an armament cost, supply consumption. AA guns, self-propelled AA guns and flak. You get speed, you get armament discount, which affects League cities as well. Keep that in mind. You get a defense against bombers, which really isn't needed because flak just shred bombers. And attack versus air plus 40%, which is nuts. The thing that sucks about Cannoneer is they focus on this recon vehicle quite a bit. The recon vehicle is 50% cheaper, so it's 20 steel. You get plus 15% max HP, supply consumption, plus 10% to attack. Essentially, these recon vehicles are like Terminator death machines. But who is running a recon vehicle late game? Let me know in the comments. Infantry. Your infantry, there's this kind of the same as tanker. They get some good bonuses here. You get max HP. Same type of deal, plus 30% it's looking like. It'll help you capture some cities, but really you're not going to be fighting with infantry. Buildings, same as the last two. Turrets. This is the one turret upgrade that is pretty solid. You get a plus 30% attack versus air. Help you shoot down those gigs. That's the biggest threat you're going up against. Tactics, rubber harvesting is trash. Paratrooper airborne, minus 50%. I've used Paratrooper airborne like 2,000 times, so that helps. Artillery support, it's minus 50% tactic cost, depletes 15% of actual HP. Fun facts. Tier 4 upgrades, same as the rest. Ally skills, this time when you're running your ally skills, you can use a rocket launcher to give a plus 100 bonus radius and plus 10% all attack and additional 15% attack versus air. No one's running a rocket launcher late game. You have to have a monument for that and a level 6 manufacturer factory. That's not happening. If you're fighting that late in game, you should have already won by now. Joint Force Commander, this time you're using a level 2 recon vehicle, which is non-existent. You're not going to see a Jeep late game. There's no way. So kind of ignore those. Alright, moving on to the overview. So, for my analysis, and this is completely biased, you can think for yourself, but tanker is great for the first day of Battlefield and to have powerful stugs. Stugs are used till the end of the game if you're running M40s. But they become less useful later in the field. You'll never see somebody running around with light tanks 4 or 5 days in. Cannoneer for M40s and flak. It's a very good tactic. Flak and M40s, splash damage on both sides, and you're going to be pretty strong. Airman for air superiority, bombers, scout swarms. If you're running an all, go Airman. Scout swarms are nasty. They can control a battlefield completely. Bombers as well. They're great for farming, great for pushing in, great for capturing cities. It just depends on what you want to play. If you like the tanks, I ran tanker for, I played this game on and off for about 4 years. I've ran tanker the entire time, as you can see from the first clip. And I loved them. The stugs were so great and this and that, but I'm starting to switch it up. Late game, when you start getting into big game battles, you need a Cannoneer or an Airman. It just depends on how you want to play. Do you want to play on the ground or do you want to play in the air? That's all I have to say about that. I'll have a couple more future videos coming up, but thanks for listening. This has been Peety, and I appreciate you watching. Take it easy.